ICE agent shooting in MN. Was it justified or fatal misuse of power? Headline: Today on Petrol and Performance. We are analyzing the shocking incident in Minneapolis from yesterday, where a U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement ICE agent shot and killed a 37-year-old woman behind the wheel of her SUV. Description: Footage of the incident has surfaced, causing immediate, sharp divides over whether the agent acted in self-defense or if this was an unlawful use of force. Federal authorities claim the driver used her vehicle as a weapon to attack law enforcement. However, local officials in Minneapolis are calling the actions reckless, sparking intense debate. We break down the moments leading up to the fatal shots, the arguments for self-defense by DHS Secretary Kristi Noem, the counter-arguments from local officials and witnesses. Was this a justified shooting or officer-created jeopardy? Let's look at the footage and discuss.
Every morning, just so you know, it'll be the same plate when you come talk to us later. That's fine. U.S. citizen, former. You want to come at us? You want to come at us? I say go get yourself some lunch, big boy. Go ahead.
Out the car. Get out of the car. Get out of the car.
Every morning, just so you know, it'll be the same plate when you come talk to us later. That's fine. U.S. citizen, former. You want to come at us? You want to come at us? I say go get yourself some lunch, big boy. Go ahead.
Out the car. Get out of the fucking car. Get out of the car.
I'm not mad at you. Show your face. I'm not mad at you. That's okay. We don't change our plates every morning, just so you know. It'll be the same plate when you come talk to us later. That's fine. U.S. citizen, former. You want to come at us? You want to come at us? I say go get yourself some lunch, big boy. Go ahead.
Out the car. Get out of the car. Get out of the car.
The tragedy unfolding Wednesday morning when the federal government says Good, behind the wheel of that maroon Honda SUV, intentionally used the car to ram the agent. City officials say that's a lie, that Good was not a threat when she was shot and killed.
That's fine, dude. I'm not mad at you. Show your face. I'm not mad at you. That's okay. We don't change our plates every morning, just so you know. It'll be the same plate when you come talk to us later. That's fine. U.S. citizen, former. You want to come at us? You want to come at us? I say go get yourself some lunch, big boy. Go ahead.
Out the car. Get out of the fucking car. Get out of the
car. And a lot of people online are saying that she was turning right, trying to get away. But if you look down here at the wheels, what you're seeing is that the wheels were absolutely turned left and then straightened out towards the officer. I want you to pay particularly close attention, I'm going to highlight it too, to the officer's feet. Because unless this guy knows how to moonwalk, He's being physically pushed and shoved out of the way by the vehicle. Now, in the state of Minnesota, and even on a federal level, a vehicle is determined to be a deadly weapon. And at this point, absolutely, it can be construed that, yes, this is a situation of self-defense because a deadly weapon was used against the officer, against the ICE agent. And maybe in this angle, you could argue imperfect self-defense, that maybe not all the criteria was there. But it's the second set of video that, so here we are going to watch the officer physically get pushed out of the way by the vehicle, and you can see him being struck by the vehicle as he's shoved aside. And had he been 1 inch to his left, he probably would have been under tread and possibly severely maimed or killed in the process of going under the wheel of that vehicle. Now, I want to zoom in and look at this. Here, we're going to highlight this is the officer, and let's slow it down and watch. And from the other angle, the first video we watched, it looks like he's just moved like maybe a foot or two. But as you can see, there is a physical movement back as well, showing that there's quite a considerable distance that he was pushed out of the way by the vehicle before discharging his firearm. So then this falls under self-defense. And how does that look for a law enforcement officer? Well, first off, law enforcement officers are going to fall under something called qualified immunity. And certainly qualified immunity definitely has issues because we have seen it be used by both people that do auditing videos and by other situations where that qualified immunity can end up protecting bad police officers.
Under Minnesota Statute Section 609.50, it is a crime to intentionally obstruct, hinder, or prevent the lawful execution of legal processes or the official duties of peace officers, firefighters, and other emergency personnel. Minnesota Statute Section 609.50 outlines prohibited acts related to obstructing legal processes, arrests, or the duties of emergency personnel. The statute covers intentionally obstructing legal processes or apprehending someone on a criminal charge, interfering with a peace officer's official duties, and obstructing firefighters or ambulance service personnel. It also prohibits using false or threats against Department of Revenue or Department of Public Safety employees in their duties. Penalties depend on the circumstances. A felony, with up to 5 years in prison and or a $10,000 fine, is possible if the act risked or caused death, substantial bodily harm, or serious property damage. A gross misdemeanor, with up to 364 days in jail and or a $3,000 fine, applies if force, violence, or threats were involved without meeting felony criteria. A misdemeanor, with a maximum of 90 days in jail and or a E10 fine, applies in other cases such as passive resistance or verbal interference. Further details on these provisions can be found at Obstructing Legal Process Minneapolis Lawyer, MN, Liu Baiding Zhoudan Wuding. The statute is relevant to the January 7th, 2026 fatal shooting of a woman by an ICE agent in Minneapolis. Federal authorities claim the agent acted in self-defense, alleging the driver used her vehicle as a weapon, which they argue constitutes intentional obstruction with a high risk of harm. Local leaders have questioned these claims, prompting an investigation into the use of force. Whether the ICE agent was in the right is the central point of a major national dispute following the 37-year-old Renee Nicole Good on January 7, 2026. Federal officials maintain was justified, while Minnesota state and local officials have characterized it as a misuse of power. The incident is currently under exclusive investigation by the FBI after federal authorities blocked Minnesota state investigators from the case. Arguments for the ICE agent justified. Self-defense claim. Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem stated the agent, identified as Jonathan Ross, acted in self-defense after Good allegedly used her SUV as a weapon in an attempt to kill or to cause bodily harm to agents. Noem characterized the incident as an act of domestic, claiming Good was part of arguments against the ICE agent unjustified. Video evidence. Multiple bystander and cell phone videos. Reviewed by news outlets show Good's Honda Pilot reversing and then slowly moving forward to turn away from agents. Criminology experts who reviewed the footage for the New York Times stated there was no imminent threat to life because Good was turning away, not toward the agent. Officer created jeopardy. Experts suggest the agent created the danger by standing in front of the moving vehicle rather than stepping aside, which violates many standard law enforcement training protocols for vehicle encounters. Victim's identity. Local leaders, including Mayor Jacob Frey, confirmed Good was a U.S. citizen and was not a target of any investigation. She was reportedly acting as a legal observer for her community. Current investigation status. FBI takeover. The FBI has taken full control of the investigation. The Minnesota Bureau of Criminal Apprehension BCA was forced to withdraw after being denied access to evidence and interviews by federal authorities. State-level pushback. Minnesota Attorney General Keith Ellison and Hennepin County Attorney Mary Moriarty are exploring independent ways to collect evidence, though federal agents often have immunity from state prosecution for acts committed during their official duties. In Minnesota, a vehicle is legally classified as a dangerous weapon when used in a manner likely to cause death or great bodily harm. Minnesota state laws. The following statutes and rulings govern the use of a vehicle as a weapon. Definition of dangerous weapon. MN Statute 609.02, Sub 6. A dangerous weapon includes any device or instrumentality that, in the manner it is used, is calculated or likely to produce death or great bodily harm. Minnesota courts have explicitly ruled that a motor vehicle fits this definition if driven recklessly or toward a person. Second-degree assault MN Statute 609.2-2, using a vehicle to threaten or cause bodily harm to another person, constitutes second-degree assault. This is a felony carrying a sentence of up to 7 years in prison and or a $14,000 fine. Self-defense and use of force MN Statute. As of August 1st, 2025, Minnesota law eliminates the duty to retreat in certain self-defense scenarios, allowing for the use of deadly force if a person reasonably believes it is necessary to avoid death or great bodily harm. However, this law is central to the dispute in the January 2026 ICE shooting, as local officials argued the agent had reasonable means of defense, such as stepping aside that should have been used instead. Law enforcement policies Minneapolis and federal. While a vehicle can be a weapon, law enforcement agencies have strict rules about shooting at moving cars. Imminent threat requirement. Deadly force is only authorized if an officer has a reasonable belief that the subject poses an imminent threat of death or serious injury. Prohibition on disabling shots. Federal and most local policies bar shooting at a vehicle solely to disable it or prevent a suspect's escape. Vehicles as deadly weapons. Law enforcement agencies have long regarded vehicles as deadly weapons, but in recent decades, high-profile incidents have led local police departments and federal agencies to warn against firing at moving vehicles, saying it should be a last resort. Many agencies have banned the practice in most instances, Justice Department policy says officers cannot fire at a moving vehicle unless theirs. No other objectively reasonable means of defense appear to exist, which includes moving out of the path of the vehicle. Can the ICE agent be prosecuted? Federal agents are generally immune from state prosecution for actions taken in their official capacity, said John Banzhoff, an emeritus professor at George Washington University Law School. He said agents can be prosecuted on the federal level, but charges are rare. The reason is that prosecutors face a high bar to win a conviction. To do so, they must prove the officer knew his conduct was unlawful or knowingly acted beyond the constitutional limits of his authority. Banzhoff said, "What's more, the court must take into consideration that the officer had to make a split-second decision." Banzhoff said, "The court must also consider agents' backgrounds when weighing whether the actions they took were reasonable." At a news conference, Noem said the agent who opened fire had previously been dragged by an anti-ICE rioter who had rammed him with a car. Noem said the incident occurred in June and left the agent with injuries that might make him, or at least it would so be argued, more wary, more concerned, more likely to react than an ordinary individual or even another ICE agent. Banzhoff said, "More likely," Banzhoff added, "would be a civil case in which the burden of proof is much lower than in a criminal prosecution. Many questions remain." Multiple criminal justice experts said more questions need to be answered before making a firm judgment on whether the agent's use of force was justified. There are a lot of things that appear in the video, but we need a thorough and transparent investigation to determine if what was done was reasonable. Alpert said, "That's going to take a long time to do." The FBI said it has launched an investigation into the incident. The Minnesota Bureau of Criminal Apprehension initially said it was partnering with the FBI, but on January 7th, the agency said the FBI had revoked its access to case materials and evidence. Noem said the state didn't have jurisdiction. Some of the lingering questions include why ICE was there in the first place. DHS said agents were conducting targeted operations when the shooting occurred, but has not provided further details. Also unclear is what exactly led the officer to open fire. The imminent threat is really difficult to tell, Alpert said. The shooting officer, he's in front of the car. Why is he there? Why hasn't he moved? What's he doing? Alpert said, "I assume he's going to say he was in fear for his life, and that's why he shot, because that's what policy says. But was that a reasonable belief when she's turning away?" That's going to do it for this episode of Patrol and Performance. We ask you to support the podcast by subscribing, liking, commenting, and sharing. We thank you for watching.